Nova?
Nova?
I lost my chapstick. Hold on. Let's wait for people.
Nova, tell us how you
Your
thought about the book.
chapstick? Your iconic chapstick?
It's here. It's pomegranate. It's
You
pretty
should just
good.
like show off what flavor of the day you have.
Yeah, this month really is pomegranate. So
That's a good one. The pomegranate one's really good.
it's good. The last one I had was like cranberry spritz, and I thought that they were gonna like kind of taste the same, but no, the pomegranate's way better.
I'm not saying you like think they're gonna taste the same.
I know. I was like Michelle. No.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Pyramid Book Club discussion of Old Country. Does anyone have it as a prop? Nice, way to go. Thank you.
I never had it as a prop.
Before we get started, we have Sarah here. Sarah, do you want to talk about your channel at all? You don't have to.
No.
Okay. Sarah is from the channel themselves. I believe she's in the description of all three of our channels. Also, we are broadcasting this on mine, Lexi, and Monica's channel. So you might not see all the comments, but I can see them all and I will bring them up. So without further ado, wait, hello. Hello. Hi. Hi, Deb. I didn't finish it. That is perfectly fine. Oh my god, this discussion was at 4. Yay, Michelle, you're here. Hello. So how we usually start is we do the non-spoiler section, and I make Monica go first and tell us your star rating of Old Country.
I'm giving it a low 4 stars.
Okay.
Like between 3.5 and 4, but if I'm going by vibes alone, it's 4 stars.
Vibes is 4. Okay.
I think so, yeah.
I can go next. I was vlogging this, and I think one of my last vlog clips was like, wow, I think that this is going to be a 5-star, and then it ended up being 3-star because of the end.
That's actually higher than I thought, because when you've been like not talking about it but talking about it, I was like, she hated it. Like,
no, I did not
star.
hate it, but I don't know, we'll talk about the ending in a minute, but yeah. Sarah, what did you give it?
I gave it a 4-star.
Wow.
Yay. Not bad.
Okay, this is not how I thought that this was going to go.
I know. I was like, am I the only one who liked it? Like, what's going on?
I'm reading it, I was listening to it, and the whole time, every once in a while, I would just be like, I'm actually enjoying this. Like, I feel like everybody else is hating it, so I'm confused.
I was
like, am I missing something?
I'm so nervous about this because everyone else seems to not like it. Not that they hate it, but they're like, okay, when are things gonna happen? And so I was thinking I was going to go into it and be really bored the entire time and that I'd feel meh about it, but I actually enjoyed it.
So we got a 4-star. Michelle has given it 5 stars and then 4 for the second time. That's interesting. Okay. Deb gave it 2 stars to not start my year off well. Oh, this is a good one. This should have been called Bored Country. Katie gave it 1.5. Tracy, I don't remember what I gave it, but I read it last year. Okay. Lindsay, 4-star. Katrina, 2-star. Read this last month. I DNF'd it 70% of the way through, 2 stars. 3 stars. This is all over the place.
It really is. Wait, should we tell the people here if they haven't tuned into anything else about Lexi?
Oh, I didn't finish it.
Yes, Lexi, which does not matter to me. Closer.
I didn't want people to think that you skipped her.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I knew this. Lexi did not finish it, which totally.
I made it valid. 30 pages.
All those times of Lexi waiting until the last minute to finish the book 2 hours before, maybe it caught up with you. It's fine.
Closer to 2.5. 2.5. 4 stars. I liked it. 4 stars. I did have some issues, but they didn't diminish the enjoyment factor. So before we go any further, let's talk about what Old Country is about. Old Country is about this couple who moved to like isolated Idaho, and then their neighbors come over and they're like, hey, so some weird shit might start happening. And basically the land that they are on is haunted by a spirit. So every season the spirit shows itself in a different form, and that is what Old Country is about. So that's good.
Was this in Idaho or Wyoming? I mean, they're pretty much the same, but
It's Idaho.
Okay. I know they mentioned Wyoming at one point, and I was like, so Adam and I drove cross country one time, and we drove through Wyoming, and we ended up literally in the middle of nowhere. People had like the weirdest like fences that looked like they were keeping out like evil things, and like we were almost out of gas. It was the scariest experience of my life.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they came from Colorado to go to Idaho, and like at one point they talk about GIS maps, and that's what Castman does for his job. And I was like, whoa, I know this. So I was like very excited about this like nerdy man knowing like exactly everything about his house. So
they definitely like name dropped Wyoming and stuff because they were talking about land and like where they would like to live a lot in the first like chunk of it.
Yeah, they were just like trying to figure out where they were going to, and then they settled on this house in Idaho that had been on the market for a while, I think.
Yeah, I got to part 2, which I mean is only 30 pages. But
yeah.
Because they talk about when they first met that was one of the things that made her fall in love with him, was that his ideal life was just like sitting on the front porch, like a simple life looking out at
a simple life. Yeah, that's what they wanted. It wasn't perfect, but I love the atmosphere and the seasonal element. 4 stars. They were driving through Wyoming in the beginning. Thank you.
I was just getting flashbacks. Like,
yeah. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is Idaho, but I could be wrong.
We thought we were going to be murdered. I don't want to say it and get anyone in trouble.
Is a lot of empty space. Yes, Colorado to Idaho. Does anything have? Let me start that over again. Does anyone have anything else to say that's non-spoilery? My thing to say is that I hated the guy's narration, and I loved the woman's narration. But like every time it was whatever his name is, I completely forgot. I was just like, oh no.
Like, are you talking specifically for the audiobook or like their narrative style, like in the book?
Both. I feel like the guy who was narrating sounded way older. I think they were like in their 20s, right? And
well, she's 30 and he's 35.
Okay. Well, then I don't know. He sounded like super old, and the way he like spoke, he paused so many times in the middle of his sentence, right? And I was like, "Hello, can you please do better?" But that was my only
time. The only time I didn't mind his narration was like while things were happening, like when he was actively dealing with the spirit. I feel like that's when he finally sounded like he cared that he was reading a book. Like most of it, he was so monotone until those parts, and then I was like, oh, so now you sound like you're interested in the story. Like, okay. But other than that, I agree. Most of the time, the guy, I was like, okay, over.
Yeah, every time it was his part, I was like, oh Lord.
I feel like I was like supposed to not like him though. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, and I didn't like him anyway. So like it made me hate like listening to him even more. But I did really like Sasha. It felt like 2 different stories. Sasha's was way better. That's exactly how I feel. I found it so entertaining and insightful, especially in the winter season. Yeah, we're about to get to spoilers because our non-spoilers is like 2 seconds long. So hold on. Both for me. The guy.
You never know what's a spoiler and what's not. So I don't want to like get into something and be like, that could technically be a spoiler.
We stay here for 2 seconds and then we're like, let's go. Let's just get into it. The guy sounds like he's trying to be cool, and dude, you're like 30-something, chill. I felt like both narrators were yelling at me. So many F-bombs. I enjoy F-bombs. So
yeah, same.
I think Katrina does too.
Yeah. I honestly didn't even notice. It's just like integral for me. I don't know. Thought people were enjoying it and gave it 4 stars. Hi, Kat. I gave it 3 stars.
I didn't finish it.
4 stars.
4 stars.
Would you all read from this author, I guess, duo, technically, again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good idea. I liked Dan and Lucy. Me too.
Same.
I don't care about swearing. Yeah, I didn't care about swearing either.
I can't wait to watch this, though, as an adaptation. Like, I think it would be really cool.
I think it would be really cool, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get into the spoiler section. So I think what made me not like whatever his name is, I still don't know, is
Harry.
Still don't know. Harry Styles. Okay.
Harold.
How do I not know Harry? Okay. Is that Dan and Lucy come over and they're like, hey, so good morning. Like, this weird thing is about to happen to you.
Nice to meet you. Here's how to survive on your land.
Yeah.
And Harry's like, I know you all are smoking some crack right now, and does not believe them. And then he's the first one to see the light, right?
Yes.
And he's like,
oh,
they're not kidding? I don't know.
He still was like, oh, they just did that. Like, I'm trying to look around.
He tried to debunk it first.
Dan somewhere, like he just put that light in there. But then when the dog starts going crazy, then he's like, I've never seen him scratch to get in the door like that. Like, he's scared of something out here. So I'll listen more to my dog, like my own instincts.
Yeah. And the dog was like really, the dog was really integral to all the seasons too. Like, very important dog story, which
but
like
also not important. Like important, but not explained to be important.
Yeah, like why was it so important? But like, always there, was like always in tune to the spirit.
The thing with the bear.
The bear was kind of my favorite one.
Well, like the dog was like the bear.
The dog was the bear.
And then we still have no idea why that happened.
Also, it pissed me off.
Okay, Lexi, not literally. The dog did not turn into the bear.
I was like, I heard there was weird stuff, but that's really weird.
Your eyes got so like.
When he shot the bear, though, he's like, let me just like see what will happen if I shoot the bear instead of the man. And I'm like, they literally gave you instructions of what to do and not to do. And then he just like, he pissed me off so much.
Well, because he was like, I'm just going to try to beat this. Like, I'm going to try, this is a cheat code, and I'm going to try aiming for the bear this time instead of this naked man. Also, I have my bookmark in here because I just had to remember what he first called, like not the old man, but the naked man running towards him for the first time. And he calls it a tallywhacker. I was like, I can't even with that.
He was like amazing, so nonchalant about everything, but then like he sees this man get mauled by this bear and calls the cops, right? Even though he was like he's given instructions about what's going to happen in this season, and he's like, this man got killed by a bear, let's call the police. And
and it's not even the first season. Like, he already knows that what they did, like following the instructions for their first season from this like booklet that they got from their neighbors, that like that's how you get rid of it. But then he just takes it upon himself to do something different.
I hated whenever he like lost the plot of what was happening. I'm like, could you just stop being a man and get your shit together?
Ultimately, like, it seems like a lot of what he was trying to do was the same as what Sasha was trying to do, but Sasha went about it in an intelligent way and was like, let me go talk to the person who knows the most and find out what can happen, rather than Harry, who's just like, I'm gonna try shooting things and see what happens from it. Like, no. Ugh, the worst.
It was the worst. Let's talk about I want to talk about how if you survive a season, then you're stuck at the thing forever. You can never leave. I did not see that coming. I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I did not see that coming at all. They were like, oh, by the way, so you survived spring and now you're stuck here forever. If you leave, you'll die. And I was like,
and that immediately, as soon as that came, like as soon as they figured that out, then you immediately were like, well, now she's going to be pregnant. Like that, I feel like as soon as that revelation came, I was like, and here it comes.
Here it comes. As soon as she threw up, I was like, I almost DNF'd it right then and there because it's my most hated trope in any kind of book. But like she was like, oh man, I don't feel good. And I was like, oh my God.
But for this, it's like, yes, it's frustrating, but it's supposed to be because it gives higher stakes and like the fact that they really are stuck here and they wanted to have a family. So it's like, do you
and
put
it wasn't
that on
necessarily
hold,
like a central thing. It wasn't like the pregnancy became like, it was just like, this is an extra, like an extra incentive to figure this out.
Yeah. I just, so the reason I gave it 3 stars instead of the 5 stars was Winter. Winter, where they like killed the spirit with love, really was so damn cheesy for me. I could not. I personally like romance, but this in a horror section, like, my cringiness came out and I was like, please.
It kind of reminded me though of like the old days when I used to watch Ghost Whisperer. Like that's pretty much the vibe that I got from that. And I was kind of living. And just the fact that it's kind of like everything's okay in the end. And I kind of wish everything went to shit and like everyone died. Like that's kind of how I wish the book would have ended.
Yeah.
But
it came out of, I feel like the resolution came out of nowhere. Like because I was listening to audio, I didn't have a really great like way of telling how much was left other than like guessing at like what could happen in 10 minutes. So I had like 9.5 minutes left in the audiobook, which is at 3 times speed, so like 30 minutes or so. And I was like, wait, now we're wrapping it up? Like this just, everything has to happen so fast. Like, and it did. Like it all happened in like a whirlwind. And I wish that there was more of an ending because I'm like, that just came out of nowhere. Like these ghosts showed up for like 5 seconds and then tormented him and then blew the house down like in like a hurricane. I don't know. And then like, that's it.
So he
then
like
he told the truth and then they vanished.
Yeah. So he tells Sasha the truth and about like how he killed them. Yeah. And then her love and understanding is what makes the ghosts go away.
Well, I think it's more so like I think they talked about this specifically in the epilogue too, when Harry was talking to who was he talking to? I don't know. And they were talking about an old man and like you need to own up to your past and like you need to like work through your baggage. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And that's a good message for it to have. I mean, in a horror book, I'm like, maybe not, but as like a life lesson, yes, your baggage will always be with you and like your past will always follow you. And I think that's kind of like why I liked it more in the end because of that overarching like theme.
I personally did not like the ending. And endings always make it or break it for me. Like a book could be 3 stars and the ending is so damn good, I'll give it 5 stars. And this did the complete opposite for me. It was a 5-star and it was so stupid in my opinion that I gave it 3 stars. So like the endings really do make it or break it for me. So like this one, in my opinion, I was just like, this is so cheesy. I gotta go. I'm going to get to some of these comments now. I am so sorry. We've just been talking. I would not have enjoyed it nearly as much without Dash.
Yes.
The scarecrows were the best part. That was so weird. And Dan's death, too.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
Yes, we could talk about Dan's death now because I really liked Dan a lot. And I did not expect him to die with the scarecrows, like, at all.
Yeah. I kind of expected like Harry to die at some point just because of his stupidity.
He's stupid.
Yeah. It had to be Dan. And I was like, no, why? I'm glad somebody died. I mean, it made it like actually high stakes. Because I was watching Joreline's vlog on it and she was basically talking about, okay, but what are the stakes? Like, if you don't do these things, what's going to happen? Like, are you going to die? Are you going to get, like, just scratched up? Like, what are the actual stakes if you don't follow these instructions?
Yeah.
And that was, like, a consequence. And we
got
to see it, like, in real time.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it because when Harry, like, woke up and whatever, and he was like, well, where's Dan? And they were like, And I was like, oh crap. Okay. Like I really wasn't expecting it because at that point in time there had been like some freaky things going on, but everything was like still like smooth sailing, you know, like they were making it out of all the seasons.
Yeah.
So when the Scarecrow came, I was like, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Listening to like the verbal description of Dan's death was also very like, I'm like driving on my way to work and like all of a sudden it's just like, and the Scarecrow reached out and grabbed his face and started and blood was coming out of his eyes, and I was like, what?
But like it reminded me of when Harry was talking about in the beginning his first crush that got mauled by that dog and her face got ripped off. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I definitely would read something else by this author duo. I just feel like maybe this one specifically didn't work for me, but I do think it would be like a good adaptation because it is kind of creepy.
I think so. Because I know this was on Reddit originally. Was it on Reddit by one of the brothers, and then isn't the other one a screenwriter?
The other one is a screenwriter, yeah.
That's how it got turned into the novel.
I think so. And I don't know who was which. It's in the back of the book, but yeah. I have a husband who is in the military. I appreciated the PTSD rep, and I found a lot of it accurate, so that was a plus. I hated the winter season. I feel like it was preaching about war and what people go through. Like it was his fault he was going through this. Yeah, I was not expecting what winter was because Dan and whatever her name was like, it's a off season, you know? And then he comes in, he's like, so have you ever killed anyone, by the way? Like, I don't know. I think the dude still had to be killed even though the bear was wounded, so the spirit had Dash do it instead. Yeah, no matter what, like the dude was supposed to die. So with Harry killing the bear instead, Dash had to kill the man.
Just such a weird twist.
It was a weird twist.
Yeah, it was. I did not see coming, and neither did Harry.
Yeah, and he was like, "I've never seen my dog act that way," and I was like, "Well, yeah."
You've never seen him maul someone to death? No, I wouldn't imagine.
I really liked all the descriptions though, and like especially with the scarecrows, like that was creepy. If I was like sitting in a dark room just like reading that, I would be actually scared.
Literally, that was the night we were doing sprints for this, and I got to that part, I think, and I was like in this light room with my light on, and I was still like, hello, I have to like go to bed soon in the dark. And I was like not having a good time.
Hopefully you don't have any scarecrows around.
Yeah, I was like, hello? No.
You'll never find a scarecrow in my yard.
Never again. I'll never look at scarecrows the same way. Nope. Harry, you suck was my entire thought process the entire time until winter. Yeah, he really figured it out at winter, but like it was because Sasha was pregnant. And like the stakes were so much higher now, right?
And because he found out that only he would be affected.
Yes, he was like the only one affected.
That was, I can't imagine, like, they've been going through all of it together, and then all of a sudden for the season to be like, yep, guess what? You're going to see everything, and she's not. Like, have fun with that.
And also the description of that winter storm that they went through with their candles blowing out and stuff, that was so descriptive. Like, I felt like I was in it. I was like, this is some good writing. The writing was really good for this.
Yeah, like I felt cold.
Yeah.
I was supposed to feel cold or like hot in the summertime. Like, it was really just very descriptive.
It really was like I felt like I was in that snowstorm. I was like, this is nuts. And I never feel like that.
Yeah.
Kids go to war to defend their country and the people in it. That's their reasoning. They do what they are told right or wrong. Yeah, I didn't love that either. I think Sasha explained why Harry was so reckless for no reason. Yeah.
But like Harry himself was kind of violent, like not even just because of what, like he just seems like a violent person. And when we first see him and he's talking to his therapist, he just like lies about feeling sad. And I was like, I don't know how to feel about you, but at the same time, I understand like PTSD is a thing, all that stuff. But like then he talks about the raccoon and how he just like threw it and snapped its neck just because it had scared Sasha.
Yeah.
I was like, you seem kind of violent. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like, I don't know, it's not fair that he went to war. It wasn't his fault. And then like, for those ghosts to be like,
yeah, I'm definitely not saying it's his fault, but
no, it's not his fault. I didn't really love Winter. Winter was where it like broke down for me, except for the storm. That was like the best part of Winter for me. They just had to deal with their shit.
True.
Yeah.
I thought it was Harry coming to terms with his guilt, whether he should have felt guilty or not. He did. It was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also hated that the other neighbor who was mysteriously MIA the whole time story finally popped up, especially when he was the one connected to the land. Yeah. When Dan died is when Joe came around and he was like, they'd been there for what, months? Like 2 seasons at least.
Like what Dan could have lived if Joe had shown up sooner. I don't know. Was his name Joe? It was really kind of hard to tell in just the audio, but like if he had shown up earlier, would Harry have saved Dan because he wouldn't have been acting out? Like things like that. Like this guy that has all the answers apparently doesn't bother to show up until someone dies.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't like that.
I almost thought Joe didn't exist. Like, I kind of thought that Dan had made... Like, at one point, I was like, okay, the fact that he hasn't shown up yet, I'm like, did Dan just make him up? Like,
I know. I was like, is Joe
I'm confused.
in this room with us now? Like, does he...
I am Joe.
I am Joe, actually.
I'm still kind of confused how the wife got to leave at the end to go on, like, her road trip.
Well, the thing is, I think it's implied that she died. That's why Sasha was so upset, because if you leave the land, you die. So I think it was just implied that she was gonna herself because
once she was saying like I've lived a long life.
Exactly. Yeah, so like she knew what she
would control it.
Yeah,
she's like, I want to know when I'm gonna die, and if I'm gonna die because I leave, then I want to know that.
Yeah, but I think like she didn't want to be on the land anymore without Dan, so she was just like, I'm just gonna leave and die, basically.
Yeah, but also finding out that there were people who successfully left and didn't die. Like, okay, so what? I feel like I wanted, when we found that out, that there were other people that left, my first thought was, okay, so does Lucy get to live? Like, what baggage did she have that, like, I don't know.
It seemed to me
as though that I wanted to know.
Yeah, it seemed to me as though it's like whoever was actually the owner of the land, like who was on the lease, because other people who had been there got to leave. But it just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, the only person who got to leave was like the daughter, but she wasn't there for a full season, which is why she got to leave. So you have to be there for a full season. And that's why all of Joe's family is all living at that house together, because no one can leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't very like I loved that part, that like that twist was that they could never leave, but it was also like not very clear.
Yeah, there were holes in there.
Yeah. The ending, I think, made it a light horror, almost just a thriller. Yeah. I just did not like the ending.
I thought it was more like literary horror, which is becoming my new favorite niche. So maybe that's why I liked it so much.
Yeah. I wanted those scarecrows to be tortured spirits of those who died on the land by not doing the ritual.
Oh,
that's smart.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
And then the next, like a sequel, and it's Dan comes back to haunt everybody.
Dan comes back. Oh my god, no.
Dan comes back and is the scarecrow for Harry. Like,
yeah,
horrifying.
Oh my god. I hated him from the beginning when he defended Sasha by killing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just so out of nowhere. Like,
really
I got scared by this raccoon, and he's like, "Oh, okay, like I'll handle it."
Yeah,
and like I had a broken, like they found it in the sewer or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah, it was too much. I found some repetitive behavior a little bit too much fill work by the writers, but it was good story, interesting, and found myself immersed. 4 stars. That's good.
Nice.
So
yeah.
The scarecrows were creepy. I felt like they were good moments, but in between lacked for me. Yeah, I can see that. Overall, this is the first book for both, correct? I think so. And Lexi said that it started on Reddit, and then they just...
Yeah, it looks like Matt was the one that wrote it, and then Harrison is the like screenwriter. Also, Matt's wife's name is Sonia, which is very...
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. I missed a bit of the chat, so not sure if it was discussed, but the pregnancy, yes. It was so heavy-handed. We won't have kids, so clearly it's going to be there. Yes, we did talk about this, Deb, and it's my most hated trope in any kind of book ever. So I almost DNF'd it right then and there.
But like I think Monica said, it wasn't the focus. Like once it happened, it was there in the background, but it wasn't like we have to do everything specifically for this baby. Like
right.
If anything, it propelled the actual plot more. Like it just fueled what they were already trying to do. So it wasn't like the pregnancy changes everything. Like, oh, we have to like, no, you were already trying to get rid of it anyway. Like, yeah.
He killed 2 men that weren't doing anything towards him when he's talking to the therapist, and he's purposely playing a character he feels people want him to be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Post-deployment, I think my husband would have reacted to a raccoon too. Good representation of PTSD. It's good. How much of that gets marked as PTSD and things he's gone through, and how much can be seen as sociopathic mentality? Yeah. I didn't think he was that.
I don't know. Like, there's a line, but I mean, who are we to say? Like,
Yeah, the daughter lived because she left before the season. Exactly. And that's the only one who's like lived, because the other families, they described there was like a fire and something, and they all got trapped in that.
Yeah.
Or the guy that got rid of his baggage or something.
Yeah. Also felt like the women could have been stronger. My man is gone. Life is not worth living. And the main dude definitely was the one handling things to protect his wife. Yeah. I feel like Sasha was strong mentally and was just like, okay, this is a thing we're going through. Let's get through it. Because Harry was like, this isn't true. You know? So like, I do feel like Sasha was strong. But
if Sasha had been the one to handle things, then nothing would have gone wrong because she would have done it right.
Yeah.
And there. She
the only thing she couldn't do was Winter. Like, that was it.
Right.
That was Dan's wife's decision to make to leave, to go, to be at peace with the decision, because life without Dan on the land was not possible for her. Yeah. I probably would have done the same. Like, why would you want to live on the land that like killed your husband?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think I see her as weak for making that decision. I see it as like, she lived like a long life and she just wants to die on her own terms and not be stuck somewhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be stuck on the land that killed your husband. No.
Yeah. And now she would have to deal with all the seasons too. Like, she's going to have to do all, I mean, obviously they would have helped her, but like, she would be responsible for taking care of their property from the spirit then on. And that's a lot.
Yeah, I feel like she's strong for just leaving on her own terms and being like, I'm kind of done. Yeah. I expected the scarecrows to have a twist, like a person inside, and killing the scarecrow would actually be a bad thing to do. I think the scarecrows were just like so scary in and of themselves. Like, the way they were described and how they attacked Dan was just like horrifying.
Yeah. And I like that they weren't the same every time. Like, it didn't come back as like a child or whatever every single time. Like, they were different. And then the one time they described one as having a bowl cut, and I just could not get like Will from Stranger Things out of my brain during that scene.
No, not Will. Poor Will.
And I was like, okay, now I'm laughing. But like, this is horrifying.
To be haunted by the spirit of Will Byers' bowl cut.
Oh my God, not Will. Speaking of Stranger Things, they start season 5 in May. So you're welcome. I can see if you've been married a long time not wanting to stay alive alone. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on this one. We'd all be gone too, I think. I read somewhere that Harry was loosely based on Matt, the author. I thought it was funny because I didn't like Harry. I don't think anyone really liked Harry. My thing with Harry is that, like, they literally gave him this manual and he was like, 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 it's such
I'm gonna deal with this on my own terms. Like, nobody's gonna tell me what to do.
Yeah, it was so frustrating, and they were like being very helpful, and like I don't know, it really. And I did not like the audiobook of Harry either way, so that's fine. I think there was an understanding of PTSD in the book: irrational fear, need to control, need to protect. Yeah, he definitely wanted to protect like his house and his land and Sasha, but I just felt like, especially in the beginning, he went about it the wrong way and like went off script, even though he was like handed the script, you know?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little concerned that they sort of used the white savior trope because it's the white newcomers who solve the problem, not the indigenous carers who live there forever. That is also one of the reasons I took it down from 4 to 3, because I thought that it was very white saviory. And I was like, Joe and his whole family have been here, what he said, since like forever, and they couldn't figure it out. And I was just like, this is not rubbing me the right way. So yeah, I agree. I thought maybe the ritual was bad somehow with the scarecrows. Joe would buy the land as families would die left to kind of return the land to the spirits. Also, Harry needed to understand that he did not own the land, right? Like, it was his house, but it was the spirits' land, and they wanted it back.
Yes.
Leave it to a man to not read the instructions. Right, Carol? It made me so mad.
Didn't Harry like almost destroy them at one point? Like
he was like, so.
We can just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Like, please don't.
I think he was about to make a fire with them, and Sasha was like, my dude. Yeah.
Dude.
What would we do without Sasha? I don't. I wonder about the slight inference about trying to get the last family back, and if Joe had PTSD from that and avoided Harry for that reason. That could, yeah. But still, like, you have been on this land the longest. Wouldn't you want, I don't know. I'm sure he probably just wanted him to leave and not last the season, right? If you don't last the season, then you get to leave the land. So maybe if he was like making himself scarce, then I don't know. I don't really know about Joe.
But I also didn't really like the whole reasoning for not telling them to leave like before they had survived the first season. They were like, oh, you wouldn't have believed us. And I'm like, yeah, they wouldn't have, but I'm so confused like why you didn't try harder. They were just like, yeah, we were just thinking you wouldn't believe us anyways, so why even try? I just didn't like that explanation.
I didn't like that either.
Especially effort would have been there.
Yeah, especially when they told them about the light in spring, and then it came true, you know?
Yeah.
So then the next step for Dan and whatever her face is would be, okay, by the way, if you don't leave right now, you're going to be stuck here forever. So you might want to just like leave, you know? And then maybe they would have believed them. Would they have listened? No. But at least they would have like been able to make a decision.
Or talk to Sasha at least and not Harry. Because I feel like she could have maybe convinced him.
Yeah, because they didn't believe it, but then they saw the light and they were like, oh, maybe we should do this ritual to figure it out. And then, you know.
Yeah. Even before that, though, like, they didn't even have to give them the instruction manual. They should have just been like, you should leave.
We don't want you here.
Like, they should try to freak them out more and be like, our neighbors are really weird. Maybe we shouldn't live here.
Yeah.
But they didn't
they definitely should have done more. Yeah. It made me think of what we did to Native Americans taking their land and culture, so the spirits were the first people. I think that is what this, like, the spirits were. Like, that's what it was inferred. It was the indigenous story without indigenous characters. I think Joe and his family were supposed to be indigenous. I am pretty sure, because they have been on the land since, like, the very beginning. I am almost positive, but I could also be wrong. I read this a couple weeks ago. I was reading some reviews about the white savior thing, and it put a bad taste in my mouth. I agree. That is why it didn't get 4 stars for me. The indigenous rep did worry me in this too. Yeah, I felt like that could have been done in literally any other way. Yep. Sasha was definitely the smarts of the pair. I just wanted to see her step up physically to confront more. Yeah. They didn't believe any of it at first, so yeah, that is what I'm saying. But I feel like, could they have been like, by the way, if you don't leave, you'll be stuck here literally forever, and if you leave, you'll die. Maybe they could have said it, and then they could have like decided.
I feel like once you see that it's true, you'll believe. Like,
yeah. The way they didn't even try. They didn't even say it to them.
Yeah,
it's like you lost credit by not, like, if you had just mentioned it to them,
and then they still
come back later to get more information, but they didn't even know that was a concern.
Yeah, they had no idea. But I mean, but for us, that was like one of the biggest twists in the book, right? Like without it, there would have been like no big twist in the middle. So like, I understand that from a writing standpoint, right?
Yeah.
But if Harry didn't last the season, would it be Joe's or Dan's fault? Would they be dealing with them in the winter season plot hole? Exactly. Yeah. From like a writing standpoint, I understand why it was like, oh, by the way, you can never leave. Like, that's a big twist in the middle of the book, but still it's infuriating for like literally everything else. But Harry was so hostile to them, so they were not going to push. Yeah, Harry was mean to them. He did not want to be friends with them. Yeah, he was. And then Sasha would like start meeting up with her and like doing walks and stuff. Sasha was just the best character. Joe sent Dan probably for the reason that they connection of the White family. Yeah. They could have at least tried to tell them, then it's on them to. I agree with you. I feel like here's this thing, here's the manual. If you don't leave, you're going to be stuck here forever. Believe me or not. And then that's how it should have gone.
And then it can kind of clear their conscience of like, well, we tried everything that we could.
Yeah, because they didn't even find out until like fall, right? They found out like very late.
Yeah.
I think this could have been a cool book about the spirits of the land without the indigenous part, or made it based on some real lore. I don't know a lot. Felt half out together.
Put together.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the story was good, but there are a lot of like plot holes, and there's a lot of things that I definitely would have changed. And one of the biggest parts would have been the indigenous stuff and the white savior stuff. Oops, I hit the wrong comment. So sorry. Sasha is probably the only one who liked Harry. Yeah.
And there were times when she didn't.
Yeah, for sure. If you spent all your money, your psychological hope on a piece of place, would you then walk away from such a deep investment because the new neighbor says a story? Right.
And I feel like you experienced it yourself and realized it was real. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I would have been like, maybe this was a bad idea. Like, they've been here a while. And then as soon as something had happened, I would be like, yeah. We're going.
Yeah. It would have been nice to have the option to know and then to make your own decision about it, but they didn't even like tell them.
Also because they said like Joe would buy the land when it went on sale, but he was away when the property went up, and that's why he didn't buy that one first. So I'm like, they had an out because Joe would have bought it from them. Like they very literally like, yeah, you might not, you invested in it and that's the life they wanted to like live off the grid kind of thing. But like, they had an out because it's not like they would have been like, oh no one's going to buy this from us. Like, no, literally he's willing to take the land from you. Like,
like there were several options.
That happens a lot though. I feel like in horror movies especially, I kind of liken it to the fact of, oh, you hear a noise in the basement and then you're like, oh, they're definitely gonna go check that out. Like, they shouldn't, but they're going to. So it's kind of that same thing, but just different.
Yeah. They put everything into this land, and they never allowed them back on my property. They didn't find out they couldn't leave until Sasha researched the family who lived there. Yeah. And that was like autumn. It was like so far.
Yeah. Gone. I think it was like 2 or 3 seasons.
It was, yeah. I think as a novella, this would have been stronger. A lot that could have been cut out that wasn't needed. I kind of agree. And I felt the same way about Stolen Tongues, even though I did not like that one either for other reasons. I felt like that one was so long and repetitive, and that started on Reddit as well. So, like, can we stop doing this and just make it a novella, please?
Well, they do start off as, like, a short story, and then people expand off of those short, like, horror stories.
I just feel like it didn't need to be. And not that it was that long, but there was a lot of filler in this one.
There was, but I feel like if it was a novella, it would be way less descriptive, and that's what I liked about the book.
That's true. I did like the description. They were so good. There's something to the fact that the land is where we put our hopes and dreams into. Yeah, they love that. I mean, in the beginning, like the first 2 chapters or stuff, he's like, he says how long he's researched this, and that's where he's talking about the GIS maps, and he's like mapped out everything. So like, yeah, they were like really all about this. Wouldn't buy in right away, but the first time the season started showing itself, you'd run, I think. Exactly. Yeah, they should have definitely told them. I would have said these neighbors are nuts. Also, Joe is out of town or something. Yeah. Different tangent, but can we talk about how Harry pooped his pants and Sasha had to clean it up?
Excuse me?
Scarecrows? Or is this with something else? I can't remember.
I don't remember this happening.
I remember he did.
I remember he did, and she was talking about, like, this, but I didn't focus on it too much. It was kind of like it happened and I'm moving past it, so I don't even know when it happened.
One of the like 5-second spots where I like zoned out.
I'm almost certain it happened with the Scarecrow right before Dan died and right before he passed out. I could be wrong though, so don't quote me because it's been a while since I've read this one. But yeah, he
also it was like when he was brought inside.
Yes.
After that, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Why did she have to clean it up?
Because he was passed out.
Oh, okay.
He was passed out. He like couldn't
Joe, who he had never met.
Yeah. So interesting. Those hopes and dreams became a nightmare literally because of the land. Yeah. If someone told me that the land that I just bought was haunted, I feel like I would take them seriously. You know, like you don't want to mess with that shit.
I mean, I wouldn't be like, oh, let's leave. I'd be like, ooh, that's kind of cool. But then as soon as like something happens again, I would be out of there.
If something actually happened, it's another story. You're like, okay, I gotta go now. You know? Yeah.
Because knowing like basically everything is on some sort of like burial ground these days. Like people just, you could have dead bodies under you. Like you don't know.
Exactly.
But it's just the fact that like they just, I don't know. It's just so frustrating that they didn't say anything about it.
It was frustrating.
They wouldn't have believed them, but still.
But like from a writing standpoint, that was the twist, you know? So
but they didn't have to say like, oh, they don't have to say it like that. Like you can never leave if this happens. It's more so, here's a huge warning that you should leave. So it gives you that ominous aspect of what's going to happen.
I wish they would have told them to. I'm at work and got busy, but 2.5 stars because I was bored by the book overall, didn't connect to the writing, characters, etc. Dash was the only one I cared about. That is valid, Sherry. Joe hiding from them made no sense. It was like the authors just needed an excuse for Joe not to make an offer of the land. Yeah. The whole like, oh, Joe will be down when he has time or whatever is the excuse that Dan made every single time. And I was like, yeah. I think it was the fact that they were so far away from home and they invested all their funds into the home. Yeah.
They'd really put everything into it.
Yeah. Especially if they didn't just buy the house, they bought the land attached to the house. So that's even more of an investment than just a house, which is still a big investment.
It was like farmland. Didn't they have like sheep or something?
Yeah, they did. He pooped with the Scarecrow. Whew, I was right. I'm so proud of myself.
Wait, was that before or after?
I think it was during. I think
is that before or after she found out she was pregnant?
Oh, I honestly can't remember. She found out she was pregnant like right before winter.
That was I think she knew she was pregnant before the Scarecrow.
Because I wonder if like
she already was worried about talking to Joe.
Poop is poop.
But it's kind of like, you know, her prerequisite.
Yeah. Michelle knows her poop scenes. I'm just surprised I learned that. As soon as I finish the book, I'm like, well, that's gone out of my brain. So I really appreciate the message that not having choice autonomy is horrifying. I agree.
Yes.
Yeah. She knew for a while, but didn't tell Harry. Okay. I kind of forgot the timeline of when she found out she was pregnant and everything.
Yeah, I knew she had said something to the wife.
She told the daughter of the previous family on the phone. She said, like, I'm pretty sure she told her, like, well, the thing is, I'm pregnant and I need to figure this out. Like, I think she said that.
And then she said, the woman said, get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then so that means Dan was still alive. So she knew during the scarecrow scene and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she talked to Joe that, like, right afterwards, and that she, like, her whole thing was because she already knew she was pregnant.
Yeah. But Harry is a big boy. He can wake up and clean himself. I completely forgot about
sitting there while he's like passed out. No thanks.
I definitely forgot about the poop part, Martha. That's so funny. All right. That was a good discussion. Does anyone have anything else to say? That was good.
Okay, wait. I do have this is just another, like, maybe a plot hole kind of thing, but, like, the whole thing about Winter being anyone that you've killed. So I guess we're not considering that Harry's decisions got Dan killed, because Dan was not one of the 5 people.
Yeah, but
like, he died because of Harry. He died because Harry.
Yeah, but he did not physically kill Dan. It was
these are the people that he killed. Like, he has the actual responsibility of killing them.
I feel like that could have been an additional thing. Like, it was his fault. Like, ultimately, he's the one that tested the spirit, and like the spirit would not have attacked Dan had Harry not been an actual idiot. So in a way, I was kind of like, oh, Dan could have come back as one of those ghosts at the end, because Harry was responsible. He didn't physically, like, it wasn't his hands, but he was directly responsible for, like, getting him killed.
That would have been really smart, but then I feel like they would have had to change the rules of Winter. So, like, not someone that you killed, but like that you are responsible for killing, and maybe that would have been too confusing.
That would have opened up a can of worms, because like, that would have been also more people than 5, because
and like 5 is already a lot. Like, so
Sasha could have had her own then too. Like, you never know.
I feel like those rules would have just been like too many. It
would have expanded too much.
Yeah. It made me mad when she hid that from him after she got so mad about him hiding the thing when she was gone on her business trip. Yeah. She was like, I know I'm a hypocrite, but I'm gonna hide this from Harry for as long as possible. And she like said she was a hypocrite. Her fear of the land was the contributing factor. Yeah. And she was like trying to figure out what was going on. Like, actively, she was like calling these people who used to live there and all this stuff and trying to figure everything out. That hoe told everyone she was pregnant except Harry.
Well, I don't think she. Not wrong. So the thing is I think she kind of didn't know how he would react, because he has like these super large reactions to such small things.
And he was the one who was pushing her to have a baby. And then when they found out that they could not leave the land, they both mutually were like, nah, nope, we're not going to put our kid through this. So the fact that it was a stupid surprise pregnancy, I think I agree. She didn't know how he was going to react. Like, she didn't even know how to react. So I feel like that's fair.
Again, going back to the raccoon. Like, it's just a small thing she mentioned, and then it was like a really big reaction.
Yeah. Agreed. That would have been an interesting twist to have Dan there. I just feel like them trying to like change the rules of Winter would have been too big. I had to go to work, but thanks for recommending this. I would have never picked it up. I'm so glad you gave it 2 stars. Wow.
So worth it.
If those were the rules, that would have messed with Dan and Joe. Yeah. Because Dan and What's-Her-Face were like, yeah, we get off in the winter. Like, we have an off season. So it would have made everybody, Or maybe at least have Harry worry about if Dan would show up, because that guilt should have been on his mind. Yeah.
because he didn't necessarily, he knew what the rules stated, but he didn't know the spirits, like,
right.
He wouldn't have known if that would be part of it or not. So
I still feel like it would have been a good idea if Dan had showed up, but then like winter would be crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, it already was crazy.
It was. I mean, yeah. That was his reasoning for not telling her either. Yeah. He didn't want her to come back from the trip early.
Mm-hmm.
And like Sasha does say, she's like, I know I'm being a hypocrite for not telling Harry, but I have to figure some more things out. Mm-hmm. And like I felt like she genuinely did not know how to feel about this pregnancy either.
Yeah.
Especially Joe, if his family had settled there for years. Yeah. Whew.
Wow.
That was good.
There was a much more positive outlook on that book than I thought people would.
Yeah. I thought I was going to come into a roast.
I definitely didn't hate it, but the thing for me was the ending and the white savior for me. I just but it was a 5-star before that. Say that again.
A lot of people's issues too seem to be that they were bored.
Yes.
So
I was never bored.
I wasn't
bored
either.
But I feel like people being bored doesn't like react a strong enough opinion to like have like a heated discussion. So it's not like it was like a hated book. It was just 2 stars because it was boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it off my shelf. I'm really happy for you.
I'm keeping it. I'm not unhauling it.
That's good. I'm glad. Yay. All right. Yeah. Next month we are reading, what is it called? All the dangerous things. I was like, I got nothing in my brain. Do we have anything? Thank you.
Yeah, I have it too, but I was too late.
Mine's all the way over there. I was
Mine's upstairs.
It's all the dangerous things.
Yes. Sprints for that will be back on like one channel at a time.
Yes.
So I will have sprints on my channel, and then Michelle will be hosting the live show.
Yes, and we will get those dates out for you when we figure those out. So stay tuned for that.
I like that book, so I hope you guys like it.
I'm so excited for it. Let me bring up this comment. I enjoyed all the dangerous things. Hopefully mine will not be the unpopular opinion. I am very excited for this. This was my pick, so I am hoping that
Have you read A Flicker in the Dark?
I did.
Okay.
Me and Cassim and Buddy read it on our road trip.
Did you like it?
I did like it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. There were a ton of comments on this one. I like how polarized it was. We had lots to talk about.
Good discussion.
It was a good discussion. Thanks, Sarah, for joining us. Thanks for coming. It was so nice. Okay, that's it. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.